Hey Panther Nation, I'm Gary Cates. I'm the junior high principal. Mr. Kirkland is over here. He is the high school principal. We've been asked to do a quick summary. I guess most of you know we have adopted a drug testing policy for our students coming up this next year, and we're just going to kind of give you an introduction to it. I want to remind you guys, if you want to look at the drug testing policy in detail, if you'll go to our website, our district website, up on the toolbar, if you'll find extracurricular activities, if you'll go to the drop-down bar, it'll have the drug testing policy, and you can, and your kids can read that. Well, first we kind of want to go over some things. First of all, who will be drug tested? Well, it'll be for all 7th through 12th grade students who are planning on participating in any kind of school-sponsored extracurricular activity. So if you're an FFA, if you're an FCCLA, if you're in band, if you are in athletics, UIL, academic competition, anything that's sponsored by the school, you'll be required to take an initial drug test. Also, if you are planning on parking your vehicle on campus, here at Panhandle, you'll also have to drug test for that, okay? The reason that we're doing this, there's actually several reasons. Number one is we want to deter any student usage of drugs. We want to make sure that we can do our best to prevent any type of injuries or illnesses or harm that comes from drugs. We want to give students, student athletes, those in band, anything you're doing, a reason to say no. But we want to create a drug-free environment at our school. And last, we want to educate our students on the harms that can come from it. But most of us, we want our kids, you don't need that kind of stuff. We want you to perform with the talents you have. So who's going to be tested? How's it going to work? First of all, before you're eligible to participate in any kind of activity or to park your car on campus, there will be an initial drug test, and that's for every student that plans on participating or parking. And we'll do that at the beginning of the year. There will be a consent form. If you're under 18 years of age, both the student and the parent will have to sign the consent form. And so that kind of gives you an idea of the who and the whys, and Mr. Kirkland now will talk about how the actual test, the procedures, the testing, and the consequences of it.
Hey everybody, my job's to talk about the procedure and how it's going to happen. Our first initial test will be August the 3rd. The first day of 2-a-days, that kind of stuff starts, and that's when we'll get the high school kids, if they're in football or band and things like that. And the way the procedure works is the company comes in and they're going to bring 3 technicians, and they'll take kids 6 at a time. And they come in with a package that looks like this, and they'll open the package in front of the student, and they'll have you pull everything out of the package. Okay, and then it is a swab, and then the little test kit. So they'll have you open the swab up and stick it in your mouth and get it wet with saliva. It usually takes about 30 seconds to a minute, so you have that in there. And then they'll ask you to pull it out. They'll ask you to pull the swab out of your mouth and stick it in the test kit, and then they will push it down in and shut the lid on the test kit. And then they put tape over the kit, and there's initials, and they stick it back in the bag, and this is all happening right in front of you where there's no chance of contamination, or it never goes out of your sight. And then as it goes, you can see the liquid start to come up the side of the test kit. It gets to a point. And so I took this test kit this morning. I took a drug test this morning, came back negative for your information. And if you have 2 lines on it, that means it's a negative test. If you have 1 line at the top, that means you tested positive for those substances. And then if there's another line, just one line at the bottom, that means it was an invalid test. So let's say if I had taken this test and it had to come back positive, what would happen then? So they would pull me aside. If the test came back positive, we would talk about that, go in, and they would give me another test that looked just like this one. They'd open another one up. I'd take another one just to see if it was a abnormality of something with the test. So if it comes back negative, then I'm fine. If it does come back positive, we're going to call the parents, and there's one more test. They do another swab, and they seal it up, and they put it in a package, and they send it off to a lab. And those results will come back in 72 hours. And so we would meet for the third time, just to check 3 times to make sure that you are testing positive. And then during that time, that gives you time, if you are on medication that could give a false positive, you need to bring us the prescription, or better yet, if we already have it on file, which by chance we probably should have, we can just say, okay, this person is taking Adderall for ADHD. That's why we came back with a positive test, and we sign off on it, and we're fine. So that if that happens, we will meet with the principal. If you're a football player, we'd meet with Coach Ashley, your parents, and yourself, and that's who would meet in the meeting talking about the positive test and what would happen next. If that happens, say you do test positive, the first time you test positive, you are suspended from extracurricular activities for 7 days. During those 7 days, you can practice, but you cannot go to any school activity. Goes along, the next time we have a random test, you will be tested again then. For the next 3 times, you're tested if you have a positive test. If you come back any of those times and you have a second positive test, you are suspended for 30 days. And you can't attend the extracurricular activities. We go through the same process. You test the 3rd time positive, you are out for 1 calendar year. And so if that happens in March, you are ineligible for extracurricular activities until the next March. Let's say you get test positive in May the 14th or something like that. You will be ineligible for the end of that school year and probably the first, 15 days of the next school year. So it does carry over. So if it happens at the end of the year, in those 30 days, it does carry over. Parents, for the initial drug test on August 3rd, or for that matter, if your kid gets drawn, you can come watch them get tested. The company just asked that they'll sit you in the corner. They will not speak to you, and there won't be any cell phones out or anything like that because of the privacy of everybody involved. So just know that, but you are welcome to come do that.
Just one other thing on the random drug testing. After the initial testing, we can random test up to 10 times throughout the year. By the way, if you're wondering how this random list is generated, it's actually generated at a company out of Utah, and then they will send us an email the early morning of the testing. If your child is on that list and they're absent that day, then they will be tested the next drug testing that we do. Am I right on that?
Yes.
Okay. Again, all of this is in the policy that you can look at online, and we encourage you guys to do that. And I believe that's it. Thank you for your time. And
If you have any questions,
if you have any questions, you can call Mr. Kirkland over in the high school, or you can call me over in the junior high.